personally think that because maybe I grew up during that period, that the emergence, I want to say this rightly, that the war, the Great War that we fought, you know, there was a war to end all wars, but that didn't work. But then the Great War that we fought, and it was a global war, and I didn't, my age was something that I was too young to be in it, but I was old enough to know about it and in some sense support it and so forth. Because and then there was this big clash, I mean, unbelievable clash of the nations of the world. And then the United Nations was built out of that. At least I think that's actually true.
Yes.
And then I had the privilege of being involved. As living in New York, you can do that, you know, and teaching it in New York. And then I guess I just gravitated to the UN and got to know key people in the UN. And you know, I've just been through this with you, but I think the wars that we have now are not really significant. That's my general feeling.
Not as much as they were.
No,
anyway.
I don't think they're really significant at all. I think they're anachronisms. You know what I mean? There is in the human beings, I think, it's an interesting paradox, I think, because in our families, you know, we're very cohesive, and et cetera, although the families fight among themselves, but there is a sense of family reality. And that's been since the dawn of time, I think. But then I think, I'm groping for a few things here, that that we were on the edge of realizing a global spiritual community. And I don't think that was ready until the end of the big World War. And I think the problem we suffer now is triviality. I think if you really, as far as I know from my little experience of tribal culture, they do a better job than we do, because there's a cohesiveness in the tribe.
Yes.
And high cultivation. Then there was always the enemy out there. Now, if we could cultivate that sense of family and community, that we no longer need an enemy. That's one way of putting it. And you could say, well, you could say, well, the history of the human race doesn't support what I'm presenting. But I think it doesn't, because it's new. In some
Very
sense.
new.
A new thing. But the substance of it is very ancient. If you have a family, in order for the human race to survive, they have all the glories of interconnection and male and female and all of these things that we struggled with to some extent in life, and sometimes with great success, and the cohesiveness of the human family is fabulous. And then and we've known, and because tribes have cultivated this from the beginning, you know, one tribe against the other tribe. And now I think that tribalism is out. It's antiquated.
Yes.
And there's so much information on this, I mean, indication of it. But I think it's a little hard to bring to self-consciousness, because there's this residue, you could say, of the other. And but I was going to begin our conversation, not that I had any ideas about it, but to talk about the fact that antagonistic. You can't even have a good war. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a real war. This is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can't even have a good war. That's what the human race has been about, to a certain extent. But there's reason to think that quite apart from the weapons of vast destruction that we have produced, that even that if there is only one family, that's another way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have made that step significantly long ago, maybe a couple of 100 years ago,
mm-hmm.
To be aware of the fact that there is only one family, and that the task is for flourishing and not for conquest. So that the human community can flourish and bring out all that's best in the Lakota people. And I'm very much enamored of the Lakota tribes,
mm-hmm.
because that's the one that I got to know. I got to know the Potawatomi. Do you know the Potawatomi?
No, I don't.
It sounds funny in English,
Yes.
too, Potawatomi. Yeah, that's the one. I had more continued, over a 4-year period. I spent a lot of time with the Potawatomi. And they were not ever, they never had a chance to be a big tribe, see. And then I was able also to go out to the West. See, you know what's connected with this? It's an interesting thing. It's the Jesuit tradition. Do you know the Jesuit tradition?
Yes.
They're the ones that are the closest to tribes. Did you know that?
You mean